What we're about to break down is a masterclass in one of the most powerful and most hidden forms of influence out there. We're not talking about brute force or loud arguments. Nope. This is about a quiet, invisible system of, well, cognitive surveillance that operates right under our noses. We're going to dissect it, look at the mechanics, and by the end of this, you'll have the framework to see it everywhere.
Just let that sink in for a second. The real danger isn't someone who's openly hostile. It's the person who gets you. The one who can map out your entire emotional world with perfect clarity, not because they want to connect with you, but because they want to navigate you right towards their own goals. This quote, it just perfectly captures the paradox we're digging into, how the one thing we all crave, to be truly understood, can be turned into a weapon.
In that weapon, it has a name: cold empathy. See, most of us think of empathy as this warm blanket, right? Shared feeling, comfort, connection. But that's only half the story. That's affective empathy, the kind where you feel with someone. What we're talking about here is its strategic, colder twin. Cold empathy is the ability to see the blueprint of someone's emotions with the total detachment of an architect looking at a floor plan. It's empathy as a tool. Think of it like a high-definition thermal scope for the mind, used not for comfort but for pure calculation.
So how does this kind of operator, this Cartesian predator, how do they actually see the world? And maybe more importantly, how do they see you? Well, they don't see a person with hopes and fears. They see a system with inputs and, you guessed it, predictable outputs. They see a strategy that needs to be decoded and ultimately controlled.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. This idea of a ghost circuit. Imagine there's a secondary processor in their brain just running silently in the background. It's not feeling your anxiety or your excitement, it's just logging it, registering it as data, noticing the patterns, and building a model of how you'll respond. It lets them read you with this chilling precision, all while their own emotional core stays completely insulated, completely cold. And here it is. This is the master key they use to get inside. It's our fundamental, deeply human need to be seen, to be understood, to be validated. This craving isn't a weakness, you know? It's just a feature of our social hardware. But in their hands, it becomes a backdoor, a direct, unguarded path straight into the command center of your mind, totally bypassing all of your logical defenses.
Okay, so let's say how this actually builds. Let's move from the abstract idea to what it really feels like to be on the receiving end of this. Because here's the thing, it doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like salvation. It feels like you finally met someone who just gets you. And that right there is the most dangerous part of this whole thing.
You know that feeling, right? It's almost magical. You meet someone and within minutes, the connection is just electric. They're finishing your sentences, they're articulating fears you've never even said out loud. It feels like they understand the deepest parts of you. That's the instant bond. And when that happens, your brain gets flooded with connection hormones like oxytocin, your defense circuits go offline, and you just feel this overwhelming sense of safety and trust.
But that amazing feeling of being seen, it's the start of a process the source material calls empathy capture, and the consequences are pretty severe. First, you get an erosion of executive sovereignty, which is just a fancy way of saying your ability to make your own decisions slowly starts to fade. You start second-guessing yourself. Then you find yourself stuck in a cognitive surveillance loop where your emotional state is being constantly monitored and managed. And the endgame? Resource atrophy. Basically, you find that you've been subtly optimized right out of your own power, your own leverage, your autonomy, and you often don't even see it happening.
And this quote just brilliantly lays out the core deception. The key thing to get here is that you think you're sharing a moment of connection, but they know they're conducting reconnaissance. They're not feeling your pain, they're logging what causes it. They're not sharing your joy, they're pinpointing where it comes from. Every single interaction is designed to build a predictive model of you, to know your answer before the question is even out of their mouth.
Okay, so we understand what it feels like. Now, let's pull back the curtain and look at the raw mechanics. Because this isn't magic, it's a machine. It's a repeatable four-stage process designed to make you totally predictable while the operator stays completely invisible. This is the data mirroring loop.
So, what is that actual blueprint? How does someone systematically dismantle your defenses and end up with a total information monopoly over you? Well, it boils down to this really clinical four-step sequence. And here they are: observation, mimicry, disclosure, and pivot. It's literally a roadmap for manipulation. It starts off passive, just watching. Then it gets active with mimicry to build that trust.
then it extracts information, and finally it weaponizes that information. It's so important to see how each stage builds perfectly on the last one. So let's take a closer look at how each of these actually works.
Stage 1 is totally silent. They're like a human scanner. They watch, they listen. But they're not just looking for what you say, they're looking at how you say it. Your little linguistic tells, your microexpressions, your posture. They're trying to identify the gaps in your self-esteem, the places where their influence can be slipped in with the least amount of resistance. They are building a complete mental blueprint of you before they've even made a single big move.
Okay, this is where the trap is actually set, the affective mimicry strike. They will perfectly mirror your emotional state. If you're anxious, their voice gets all quiet and concerned. If you're excited, they light up with energy. And this isn't just a social skill, it's a neurological hack. It triggers your mirror neurons. That's the part of your brain that basically screams, hey, this person is like me. This person is safe. It's a biological shortcut that completely bypasses your critical thinking. And here's the leverage point. Safety disables skepticism.
So once that feeling of safety is firmly in place, stage 3 begins, the disclosure harvest, and you start to talk. You feel so deeply understood that you start to leak critical information. Your bottom line in a negotiation, your deepest insecurity, your most private fears. You are, in effect, just downloading your own leverage directly into their hands for free. And the crucial thing here is that while you're disclosing everything, they are disclosing absolutely nothing of substance about themselves. The flow of information is completely one way.
And this is where the trap snaps shut. The tactical pivot. This is the exact moment that control shifts. With the blueprint built and all your leverage harvested, they now use it. They can trigger your guilt to get a concession, they can trigger your gratitude to get a favor, and because they aren't feeling any of your emotional distress, thanks to that ghost circuit we talked about, they can execute these moves with surgical precision and perfect detachment. They now hold an information monopoly, and you don't even realize you've been in a
So the question becomes, why is this so devastatingly effective? Why do our brains fall for this so easily? Well, the answer is in our own neurology. The whole system is designed to exploit the very way our brains are wired for social connection.
And this slide right here is the absolute key. You have to understand this cognitive-affective split. See, affective empathy is feeling with someone. Cognitive empathy is understanding what someone is feeling. Think of them as two different wires in the brain. Cold empathy is what happens when that cognitive wire is running at full power, while the affective wire has been completely cut. It's the ability to map the terrain without ever feeling the mud. One is used to help, the other is used to handle.
This whole process weaponizes a core human function called theory of mind, which is really just our natural ability to guess what other people are thinking and feeling. It hijacks that ability. But it couples it with our brain's powerful, almost drug-like craving for that dopamine hit we get from feeling understood. When someone reflects us back to ourselves perfectly, our brain rewards us. We feel great. And in that state, we make a critical error. We assume the person who understands us must also care for us. We mistake clarity for compassion.
Okay, so we've analyzed the threat, we've dissected the machine, now let's get to the practical stuff. How do you defend against this? How do you reclaim your cognitive sovereignty and go from being the mapped terrain to being the one holding the map? Here is the countermeasure protocol.
First, you have to run audits. The action versus affect audit is crucial. The moment you feel that perfect connection, just stop listening to their words and look at the outcome. Ask yourself, what specific action is this amazing connection leading to? If all this wonderful feeling is paving the way for a concession from you, it's a map, not a bond. Second, label the mimicry. If you think you're being mirrored, intentionally break the emotional pattern. Say you're in an intense emotional chat about your career fears, and they are hanging on every word. Abruptly shift. Say, you know, that reminds me, I was just reading about the supply chain logistics of lithium-ion batteries. It's fascinating. If their incredible warmth just vanishes on a dime and they get flat or confused, you're not seeing a person, you're watching a machine recalibrate.
Next, you need to build in buffers. The first is the 24-hour buffer. Make this a hard rule for yourself. Never disclose a major vulnerability or make a big decision in the same conversation where you feel that intense click. You have to let what I call the oxytocin fog clear out. If the connection is real, it'll still be there tomorrow. If it's a tactic, they'll often get impatient. Second, maintain asymmetric privacy. Don't give away your whole blueprint at once. Test the waters, release small, non-critical pieces of information, and just watch what happens. For example, mention a minor, inconsequential worry you have about a project.
If a week later, that exact concern is brought up and used as leverage to get you to agree to something, you know you're being mapped. That's your early warning system.
So let's bring all this together into one final core doctrine. This isn't about becoming paranoid, it's about becoming precise. It's about developing the capacity to see the person who is seeing you.
And here's the crucial point. The person who has the most accurate map of your inner world holds immense power over you. They can use that map to dismantle you, or, if you're aware of the process, their clarity can become a mirror for your own evolution. The moment you become aware that the mapping process itself is happening, the entire system starts to collapse. Your awareness is the counter-surveillance.
So this is the takeaway. This is the mental weapon you can carry with you from now on. A feeling of deep connection, an open heart, is not the same thing as a safe intention, an open hand. Always, always, be aware of who is drawing the map of your mind. Audit the cartographer.